New research shows that Washington's 39 counties and more racially and ethnically diverse than ever. And that has real world implications for how diversity is reflected in local elected offices. The two projects, Our People Are Everywhere Data Project and the Electoral Representation in Washington State. And here to share more of the findings is Brenda Annabaro and Dr. Tim O'Neill. Thank you so much for being here, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to get right into it. Brenda, first tell me about the mission and the goal of the foundation.
Yeah, thanks so much. So Inatai Foundation is a newer foundation, and we exist to really support organizations across Washington in building independent political power. So we're not partisan, but we absolutely believe that our communities deserve to have racial justice and equity, and so we support organizations across the state that are doing that work.
Wow, such important work. And the report, Our People Are Everywhere. Tell me about what you learned specifically about the diversity in our counties.
Yeah, absolutely. So at Inatai, we have a saying that our people are everywhere. And by that, we actually mean everyone. So by that, we mean white folks, people of color, everybody that believes in racial justice and equity. And we know there's kind of these ideas that, oh, that exists on the west side of the state, or that's a Seattle thing. But that's not the reality. Those folks and our people are really, truly everywhere across the state. And so this project was done actually specifically to dispel this notion that people of color are not everywhere across the state. Because as we've gotten around Washington, and I spend a lot of time traveling, and so do our team, we see there's folks of color all over. And so what we did is we said, let's pull the data. It's not actually new data, it's census data, but that's presented by a full count. And by that, that means it includes people who are multiracial. And a lot of times data will only show single race alone. When you do that, what you find in Washington State is that more than half of our counties have over a quarter people of color. We have 5 counties that are predominantly majority people of color already. And then when you look at the youth population in Washington State, which is growing really quickly, you have, if you look at under 19, half of our state already is people of color. But the other part of that story, and that we've seen and we've heard from the partners that we work with, is that our government doesn't reflect that. So we started working with Tim and folks at Washington Community Alliance to really tell that other part of, well, who's running for office? How come our government doesn't reflect this beautiful reality of who our state is? And so Tim will share more, but we were really excited to see there's huge hope and huge opportunity for when people decide to put their name in. So that's
and I want to get to you, Tim. The Washington Community Alliance looked at elected representation. So what all did you find?
Yeah, so Washington Community Alliance, we are a statewide coalition. We work with community partners, we work with tribal nations with kind of the main goal of making Washington a truly representative democracy. A big part of that is engaging voters who typically aren't voting and trying to close this gap, right, in who's voting and who's ultimately winning office. We know that people are more likely to vote, more likely to take political action, to feel represented and to feel like they have a voice in how their community is going when their elected officials look like them. So we wanted to partner with Inatai to take this one step further and look at every city, every fire district, every county in the state and see where are places that people are reflected pretty well and where are there places where these big gaps still remain that work needs to be done to make sure people are feeling represented.
Definitely. Is that how this information can kind of be used then moving forward?
Exactly, yeah. We have the opportunity to see places that are doing pretty well and then talk to community leaders, talk to people on the ground and see what's going on in the city where young people are actually running for office. Is there a strong college programs? Like, is there something that's actually engaging versus places where these big gaps remain? But we know there are good organizers already there, so we can kind of empower and build up this work that's already being done to build the relationships and build the ties among the community and take it one step further to make sure that they then have the opportunity to represent the people in their communities.
Definitely. And what, if anything, surprised you guys and, your hope with the findings?
Yeah, I mean, there were a number of things. I think the first is that there are so many uncontested races around the state. And by that, that means there's somebody who's been in political office that decides to run again and no one's running against them. So that's a huge opportunity. And I know it can seem scary to decide, am I going to run for office? Like maybe you're at home with kids or you're working 2 jobs, or you just don't have the time. But there's so many organizations that are out there that are willing to help and that can help fundraise, teach you how to do it, or maybe you just begin by going to city council meetings or tuning in or becoming civically engaged. So the uncontested races was a big one. I think the other big ones is that, like Tim mentioned, there's all these local, very local races that don't take a lot of work to dive in and jump in. And I'll save maybe the last, I mean, there's some other pieces too that you might want to share.
Yeah, something, overall, of all the candidates who are running, it is still predominantly older people who are running. It's majority men who are running and winning offices. But just in the time period we looked at from 2016 until 2024, more women are running for office, more young people are running for office, and more people of color are running for office. They still make up a very small share of the overall candidate pool, fewer than should based on the full count population that we find. But we see that those candidates actually receive on average more campaign contributions than other people. So it suggests that this enthusiasm exists for people to actually get more people elected in their communities.
Wow. Thank you so much to both of you all for being here today. We really appreciate it.